Hello and welcome. I'm honored to announce that Voluson ultrasound has turned 20 and we cannot contain our excitement. This journey has been a legacy of innovation and patient impact that began 20 years ago when Voluson Women's Health Ultrasound joined the GE family. Working with you and other physicians around the world, we have improved women's lives and ensured better health for generations. Voluson is known for its innovative technologies and easy workflows. It is also a global market leader in women's health ultrasound thanks to your love, support and partnership. To celebrate this anniversary, we have created a web series called The Voice of Voluson, which recognizes the change makers in women's health in South Asia. Follow these stories of remarkable physicians who transformed care and inspired us to always aim higher, be bolder and think bigger. Success is defined by life. IVF or in vitro fertilization has been a boon to prospective parents seeking out expertise to conceive. We are honored to have two pioneers in the field of IVF and assisted reproductive technique. Dr. Chaitanya Nagori, Director of Dr. Nagori's Institute of Infertility and IVF, Ahmedabad, and Dr. Sonal Panchal, Consultant Sonography Specialist at Dr. Nagori's Institute for Infertility and IVF. In today's episode, we will walk the journey with Dr. Nagori and Dr. Panchal and get inspired by their undying passion towards contributing for the betterment of the IVF community, as doctors, as mentors in realizing patients' dreams of having a child. This is a story of how passion and dedication led to excellence. Let's watch it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sonal Panchal. I'm a radiologist and by birth I belong to a business family. In spite of being a business family, where usually education is not given too much of importance, especially it was like that at the time in Gujarat. But my mother was a PhD in psychology and my father was an advocate. And therefore, in our family, education was given a very prime importance. After doing my MBBS, when I had to select to my line for my post-graduation, that is when I was keen on taking gynecology as the subject of my post-graduation, but at that time, I was already married, and because of some social constraints, I was not allowed to take gynecology. It is a branch with a lot of emergencies, and it will spoil the family life and so on. But I did have a deep interest in gynecology. Quite upset about not being able to gynecology, I took radiology and I topped in radiology too. I passed radiology. I did my MD But as I told you, my interest in gynecology was still there. And that interest was because I had an excellent teacher in gynecology when I was doing my post graduation. And that teacher was none other than Dr. Nagori. He taught me gynecology in such a depth and with such a good explanations always that my interest in gynecology persisted even after I finished my radiology in MD.
I was born in a very simple middle class family. My father was a school teacher and my mother was the housewife. But when I was in the standard 5th, my father lost his eye while playing the badminton. There was no treatment available at that time and he lost his eye. The second eye was very weak and he got the myopia of almost 20 number. It was impossible for him to continue the job, but fortunately his school principal asked him to do the office work and he was kept as an employee for the office work. So he continued his job till I become a graduate. Then my father asked me that, would you like to continue or would you like to start the practice? He wanted that I should continue, but it was very difficult for the family to continue the post-graduation. But still, because of his encouragement, I could continue the post-graduation and I did my MD at that time. And I did a job for more than about 13 years. I was the assistant professor in Civil Hospital, Ahmedabad, BS Hospital, Ahmedabad, Baroda SSG Hospital, and as well as the Jamnagar also, MPSA Medical College. I was transferred from one place to another off and on because I had no influence at that time. And so whosoever wanted the job at that particular place, now I had to go to some other place. So my father, he was a very good astrologer. He said me that your tomorrow is always better than today and you please start your practice. In 1992 and I started my practice. But I was very confident and I started only infertility practice, nothing else from very first day. Now you can imagine that at that time I used to ask for an ultrasound from outside and I used to get my ovulation studies there. But after 6 years when I could pay the debt of all the loans and the money which I had from my friends and everybody, I could pay them, and then in 1998 I started my new clinic. I did a second adventure and I started my new clinic. At that time Dr. Sonal joined me because I wanted a full-time sonologist at that time who can work for the whole day.
When I finished my radiology post-graduation, at that time, X-ray was the chief modality. Ultrasound was new. Until I passed my MD, ultrasound was not, there was no ultrasound scanner in my institute. NCT was ultimate, no other modality beyond that. And as a female radiologist, I decided that I want to probably specialize into ultrasound because if I take X-ray, there was a high risk of radiation, and then being a female, planning a family and all, I might have to take a break in my career. So I went to Mumbai for a month, just a month for a training in basic ultrasound. But that was all about abdominal ultrasound chiefly. In 1999, I met once again Dr. Nagori and for some social reason. And as I met him, he said, Sonal, we are going to start a new center. And this is one chance if you want to join me. I would offer you a full-time radiologist job.
So we started working together from 1998. In 2002, we took the Voluson. And this from 2002, Dr. Sonal will discuss with you that we had so many machines, we changed it. But what I want to emphasize is that I always wanted to do something new than what other people are doing. And we had read the book of Professor Asim Turiek, that you can know the follicular flow, you can know the endometrial flow, and your results can improve. And we started doing a color Doppler and 3D power Doppler from 2002, and everybody was against it. I still remember the days when we delivered a talk at All India level. People used to say that it is not useful at all, and you can get very good results otherwise also. Color Doppler and 3D are not required. I was very confident that if it is written in a book, then we must follow those guidelines and we must get the good results. That's why we took the machine, and I think machine gave us the tremendous reward also. We got excellent results in our infertility practice because of the Voluson. And what we have reached, one of the pillar is Voluson, I would say, that because of it only that we have reached to this stage. This is one of our pillars.
In the meantime, he went somewhere else again for the conference and got a book on 3D 4D ultrasound and its role in infertility. And that he got this book, and then again, just like the color Doppler story, again we had to read a lot about the 3D 4D, and we were both convinced that yes, 3D 4D also can play a very important role. And that's when around G launched Voluson. So we had a look at it, and we were, especially me, I was very, very fascinated. And that was our first Voluson, which was Voluson 730 Pro. And that we bought in 2002. When we bought that, we were probably first in Gujarat and probably third or fourth in India. And there were not many people in India who would know or who could teach us 3D 4D. So G sponsored us to Vienna, which was for the training in 3D and 4D ultrasound. And I was very lucky to get that most primary training from the person who invented a 3D 4D, Professor Kratokol. And we just had a 5 days training, but it was an intense training, and it was so exciting. We learned all the basic principles from the person who had invented it. And after I returned back, within a week or so, I got my machine installed, the Voluson 730 Pro, as I told you. So what I used to do is that I used to store every volume from every patient that I would examine. And after my OPD was over at around 2 o'clock, from 2 o'clock to 7, 8 o'clock, I used to sit on the machine to explore each and every function of it. And within a period of about 6 to 8 months, Voluson became my extension, the extension of my personality. I became so acquainted with almost everything that I believe that it's not boasting, but I do believe that I could use every function of it with an instinct which was very natural and very spontaneous. This made a huge difference in our results. We started using 3D and 3D power Dopplers for assessment of our follicles and endometrium. That gave us much better idea about the functional maturity and the functional ability of follicle and endometrium, and that improved our results further 15 to 20% beyond what had improved with the Doppler. We kept on changing the machines, or I would say updating the machine with every new model that came, because that was the young age of Voluson, which was a growing age, and with every machine there were new functions coming up. And we were really lucky because there were lots and lots of functions which were dedicated to infertility practice. To name a few of them, Sono ABC, which is an excellent tool to count the antral follicles, which is an excellent tool to assess the pre-ovulatory follicles in all the IVF cycles. Then OmniView, which is an excellent tool to see an orthogonal plane for any curved surface, and it's very useful for diagnosis of Mullerian abnormalities of the uterus, for diagnosis of endometrial pathologies. So the way this functions, OmniView, BCI, BCI-A and BCI-C, and the way these things, they help in assessing the uterus, the Mullerian abnormalities, the endometrial pathologies, are unbelievable. There's no match to that. Using 3D power Doppler and assessing the 3D power Doppler parameters for objective assessment of the global vascularity is very useful for the assessment of the follicle and endometrium. Not only that, even the subjective assessment of follicle, endometrium, as well as for any of the neoplasms. I believe that 3D power Doppler, the way it shows the vascular pattern, it is probably one of the best methods to diagnose malignancies very early. This typical vascular changes that you see in the on 3D power Doppler, they can be a very efficient way of suspecting malignancy. And if you have suspected malignancy on 3D power Dopplers, the chances that you'll get a positive biopsy is very high. So it is a very good tool to suspect malignancy or predict malignancy early, and that is one of the best ways I would suggest to screen the ovaries for malignancy. If I tell you two incidences, there was a female who came to us just for a general body checkup post-menopausal, the total ovarian volume just 2 cc, and I did a scan for her, and I just put a Doppler on that, and I saw some vascularity. We usually don't expect vascularity in a post-menopausal ovary, say about 5 years post-menopausal, but I did see some vascularity, so I felt a little suspicious about that, and therefore I did a 3D power Doppler. When I did a 3D power Doppler, I saw the typical malignant pattern, which was asymmetrical vascular caliber and dichotomous branching and so on, and I suspected strongly it was a malignancy. And she was operated, biopsied. There was malignancy in both the ovaries, and this has been 15 years now. The female is absolutely healthy. Similarly, once for the breast lesion, the patient had just come for a checkup. There was a lesion of 0.7 centimeters, and again, it was this vascular pattern which helped me suspect malignancy. The surgeon, the oncosurgeon, was not ready to operate because he said, "I'm not feeling anything." But since he was Dr. Nagori's student, Dr. Nagori could sort of insist on getting it operated, and on the frozen section itself, it turned out to be malignancy. So I believe if you can use this machine with its full capacity, explore every function of it, it can be a huge help, not only to your practice, but a huge help to humanity. The render modes were developed chiefly for the fetal phase. Let me tell you, I'm really proud of this, but I was one of the very first people who used this mode for doing a 3D hycosi to assess the tubes, and believe me, such beautiful pictures, such realistic pictures you can make, you can reproduce from using these modes from hycosi, that you probably they would match laparoscopy also. Similarly, for the bones, HD Live was actually, it was invented for the fetal phase and the soft tissues and the anechoic areas. But again, I remember that I also tried it on bones, and then there were not very many people who were trying it on bones. But then when I went to one of the international conferences, that's when Professor Poo from Japan also showed the similar pictures, and I felt really so proud about my own self that I felt happy. I'm doing some good work. So Voluson has been very useful in not only improving the image qualities, not only giving you a lot of information on vascular parameters, on morphology. But if I talk about myself personally, it is one thing in my life which I would prefer, or I would favor rather than anything else. Can you believe, even as a female, I would prefer to invest on Voluson rather than investing on the jewelry? And not only that, I very well remember once when I was going to buy a new car, that's when somebody from GE came in and said, "Oh, we are going to get a new Voluson model." And I dropped the idea of buying a car and said, "Okay, now first I'm going to invest on Voluson, and after that, maybe after 1 or 2 years, I'll invest on the car." So that's the way Voluson has made a difference in my life. It has given me a lot of enthusiasm to work. It has helped me to build up my career. It has helped me to meet the best experts in the field around the world, and I have learned a lot of them. Voluson has been really a very important brand, a very important thing in my life. On this 20th anniversary of Voluson, now when it has become young from a child, I expect many new things to come and enrich the functions of Voluson.
So, just at last, I would like to tell you that Voluson has helped us a lot to achieve the excellent results in our practice, and still we are always involved in innovations and some newer things which we can bring out from the machine, and we always work on that. Thank you very much. I'm a music lover.
I was never a bookworm.
I have a huge collections of Hindi songs from 1930 onwards to 1970.
I loved to do a lot of extracurricular activities.
I am the executive committee of one of the reputed musical club, that is Gramophone Club of India, and I am the founder member and the executive committee member also.
I used to do a lot of painting, and painting is even today my relaxing tool. So whenever I'm very tense, very tired, I don't enjoy reading new things, that's when I'll go and sit with my brush in my mouth, and I'll be relaxed. So painting was one of my very, very favorite activity. Not only a favorite activity, actually I was really good at painting, and I could earn 3 prizes in an international competition called Shankar's International Children's Competition for painting and for literature. And I'm really proud and happy about it that twice I received that prize from the President of India, Mr. Vivegiri, and once from the Prime Minister of India and the First Lady, I would say, of India, Mrs. Indira Gandhi.